Well, on any given Sunday, Todd Mullins can look down from his pulpit to see John Maxwell on the front row. The first time it happened, Todd was filled with insecurity and doubt, but since then, he's learned not to let doubt take him out.
Todd Mullins is the senior pastor of Christ Fellowship in South Florida, one of the largest churches in America. Yet despite his success, he has struggled with doubt his whole life. He says, although you might think people around you have it all together, no one is exempt from feelings of insecurity. In his book, Don't Let Doubt Take You Out, Todd shares powerful truths to help you overcome uncertainty so you can confidently step into God's purpose for your life.
Please welcome to the 700 Club, Todd Mullins. It's great to have you here, Todd.
Terry, I am honored to be here today. We love our CBN family so much.
Thank you. Well, we were just talking about the fact that there's probably not a one of us that doesn't struggle with doubt in our lives. Why this book at this time? Here you are, the pastor of this enormous church. All is going well. Why now?
Well, I wrote the book because of my own personal struggle with doubt. And I was hoping that my struggle with doubt could strengthen somebody else's faith.
Sure.
And along the way, I realized that everybody deals with doubt. Even the most confident people that we know that seem so accomplished and they're killing their game, right? They're making it happen. They struggle with doubt in some area of their life. And I realized that doubt shows up in three key areas. First, it's self-doubt. Long before we ever doubt God and His abilities, we question our own abilities. We think we can't, so we don't. And it holds us back.
Sure.
If we listen to the voice of doubt, we'll never step out and be who God created us to be, to take on the challenges that He has for us. And then doubt will secondly seep into our friendships and our relationships. Something happens, something's said, something's done, and all of a sudden we question the other person's motives or their loyalty or commitment, and what do? We withdraw, we push back, and we build up little walls. And
is it safe for me to be me?
Right. And there's doubt trying to take us out of friendships and relationships, what God hardwired us for, that will actually bring life to us. And then I write in the book that really doubt screams the loudest when it comes to the supernatural. Doubt is trying to disrupt our connection with our Creator. So when life doesn't go the way we think it should or the way that we prayed that it would, we question God and His goodness and the promises that we've been holding on to. Are they real? Can we hold on to them? And doubt's at work trying to undermine everything that we believe.
The little voice in your ear that you don't want to hear.
Right.
Let's go back a little bit in your life because, you know, today you're the senior pastor, the church is going beautifully, but there was a point at which your dad was the senior pastor, and then he retired and you stepped into that role. And who wouldn't have doubt in that moment? I mean, tell me what you felt at that time and how you dealt with it.
My dad is just an amazing man. He's my hero. He's my pastor. He's a strong leader. He's the kind of guy who walks in the room and everybody wants to be his best friend. And I'm like, I've got to follow that. How do I do that? And the church was small for a long time, but by the time they were passing it off to me and my wife, Julie, there was over 11,000 people in attendance every Sunday, big staff, big budget. And I questioned if I had the ability to do this. And I remember the one area I hadn't spent much time in was preaching, which is kind of a responsibility of the senior pastor. And so my dad gave me a few coaching tips and got me out there. But I looked down as I was learning how to preach, and John Maxwell is on our teaching team. He and his wife, Margaret, live there, and they're part of our church family. And he's on the front row while I'm preaching, and he's taking notes. And I'm thinking, what possibly could he be writing down that I said? And at that time I got real intimidated, and obviously, and I remember thinking either I'm going to lean into this or I'm going to let it intimidate me and take me out of the game. And I remember going to John and saying, John, can you coach me since you're here?
That was such a great decision. As I read your book, I thought, wow, a lot of people, because of intimidation, would not have done that, when in fact you just went wham, right into the whole thing.
And I think in any stage of life, people listening today, they're probably not going to be preaching in front of John Maxwell, but we can be intimidated by the people around us that are successful, and we can either cause us to shrink back, or we can lean into it and go, hey, teach me, tell me. You know, how it might be someone that's great at being a parent, or their marriage is great, or their business is great. When you see someone around you that actually is doing something with more maybe ability than you have, lean into that. Ask them questions about how they got to where they are.
You mentioned that sometimes things happen in life that third point that cause us to spiritually question what's going on and who is God, is He really good? I want you to talk a little bit about your son, because you experienced infertility for a while. Then your son is born, and you and Julie are rejoicing, and all is right with the world.
Yeah.
And then at about 2, you realize that there are some challenges. Talk about what happened and how you dealt with it.
Yeah, so Jefferson was this promised child that after all those years of infertility, God blessed us with. But around 18 months to 2 years, he wasn't reaching some of his developmental milestones. And we took him to several doctors, and we got the diagnosis that we feared the most. The doctor said he was on the autism spectrum. And I remember sitting there in the office with Julie, and we were just heartbroken, because here was this child of promise, and we're like, how does this fit into our faith and everything that we believe about God and everything we actually preach about God and His Word? And I remember we sat there and we went, okay, this diagnosis is not going to describe our son.
Yes.
Only God can describe our son. He is chosen, he's loved, he's anointed, he's God's perfect gift. But it will prescribe a journey that we would have to go on, with lots of therapy and lots of doctor visits and lots of things we'd have to do along the way. And so we prayed like it was all up to God, and we worked like it was all up to us. Yeah. And I remember, we were praying for a miracle, and I always say that God sometimes can do a miracle in a minute, and we've all witnessed that. But sometimes He takes us on a journey of miracles, little tiny miracles, a long way around. And I think that's His preferred route. Yeah. We like the instant, get it over with, my life's back to normal kind of miracle, but I think God prefers the long journey. It's important to know. It's important to know which one you're on, because if all you're looking for is the instant miracle, you'll miss the little many miracles along the way. And that was what was happening to me. I was just praying for Jefferson to get healed and be done, and let's move on with this. And God had just all these beautiful little mini miracles along the way. But then, so Jefferson started doing great. And then when around 12 or 13, he just tanked, and he lost his will to live, didn't desire to eat anymore, couldn't hardly get out of bed. And we spent just months and months trying to figure out what was going on with him. Doctors couldn't tell us what was happening. And I remember Julie and I, it was right as we were stepping up to be the senior pastors of the church.
Of course.
And right at the same time, this attack came. And we were out walking on the beach praying with Jefferson and crying. He was ahead of us, and we were just crying out to God and listing all of our fears. He's an only child. We're like, is he ever going to have friends? Is he ever going to, what's going to happen when we're not around? And we were just concerned about it. And that day, as we're walking on the beach, a man comes walking towards us. And I wouldn't normally encourage anybody to get their theology from a T-shirt on the beach in South Florida. But that day, God spoke to us. And the T-shirt said, listen to what you know, not to what you fear.
Wow.
And in that moment, we realized we had been listening to our fears and repeating our fears. They were on replay. Yeah. And in that moment, something inside of us shifted. Nothing changed in our circumstance, but something shifted. And we said, we are not going to profess or confess any of our fears. We're only going to speak God's word and His truth over. We went back that day. We wrote little scriptures on sticky notes, put it all over the house, on the refrigerator, on the mirrors, and we changed the language of our home. And instantly we felt faith rising in our hearts again, because we actually changed what we were thinking about. And nothing changed instantly with Jefferson, but slowly God kept working. And I'll fast forward if I can there. He ended up graduating high school, went to college, learned to play guitar, and then in 2020, he graduated top of his class in university at Southeastern, and then got married to a girl that he met serving at church, and they both serve at church. He leads worship, and so his journey's still in progress, right? But God is, right, all of us. But because we're on that long way around journey, more people get in on it. They prayed, they cried with us, they wept with us, and then they see
Your book is really about doing life and doing it with faith, to believe for the goodness of God and His promises, as opposed to the little doubtful voice over here that's trying to tell us otherwise. It's such a good book. It's so encouraging. Thank you for writing it. And you know that we just want you all to know what's in it. Todd's book is called Don't Let Doubt Take You Out. It is available nationwide. Thank you. It's great to have you here, Todd. The Lord bless you.
Thank you.
You too.